Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Tricia Maroney reporting. Commissioners and Travel Council board members get together and agree to keep the regular procedure for hiring a new Travel Council director. We'll have that story when Channel 6 News continues.
If you're looking for a good gas furnace, then look to Nelson's Heating and Refrigeration for the answer. Quality trained furnaces will give you years of dependable service at an affordable price. A trained furnace will pay for itself with better heating efficiency. Nelson's also the place for Maytag and Whirlpool appliances. Come in today and talk to the experts at Nelson's Heating and Refrigeration, 1070 Bowling Alley Lane.
First Western National Bank is bringing affordable home lending back to Moab with 15 and 30-year fixed mortgages at very attractive rates. If you're thinking about buying a new home or refinancing your current loan, stop by and talk to our loan counselors. Home ownership and refinancing for very little down. Just another good reason that First Western National Bank is your hometown bank in Moab. The Grand County Travel Council will proceed with its established procedure in choosing a new director. That was the conclusion of almost an hour discussion between two members of the County Commission and the Travel Council Board in front of a commission chambers packed with Travel Council supporters. Current Director Judith Morris is leaving the job at the end of March, and the Travel Council decided to advertise for the position and to set up a screening process to choose an applicant as their recommendation to the Commission. But at the end of January, Commission Chairman David Knutson told the media they wanted to bypass that procedure and directly appoint Moab Film Commission President Robbie Swayze to the job. That caused concern and anger among the Travel Council board members, and the discussion at Thursday evening's Travel Council meeting was designed to clear the air. The meeting was attended by Commissioners Manuel Torres and Sam Cunningham. According to Torres, the reports of the Commission having already made up their minds were overblown.
What happened is on the way back from Salt Lake, David and I were talking about the Travel Council and the direction it was going. We're not unhappy with the direction that it's going, but we feel because of the monies that are going to be created through the transit room tax in the coming years, that the Commission needs to be a little bit closer to that money because it is a lot of money. It doesn't matter who the commissioners are, whether it's our commission or the commissioners to come. We felt at that time that maybe we need to change the board making the selection to the county commission appointing that person, so it has a closer knit there. Like I said, it was just a thought. We thought about it. We decided at the time that we would do it. If the Travel Council hadn't sent out the advertising on the applications, for the director. When we got back to town, it was already done. So basically, I just dropped it myself. I didn't think anything else of it, but it got around, and it was just a bad deal. So,
if we hire somebody through the process, is that person going to be reporting to the Travel Council Board as it exists now?
Yes.
Or do you see changing the structure of the board?
We might change a little bit as the year goes through. We'll probably come to the Travel Council and talk to the Travel Council about some changes that we feel as a commission that we need to change.
Can you express any of those now?
Well, again, it's the money that's going to be coming into the Travel Council. When I ran for county commissioner a year and a half ago, one of the biggest concerns is that the county commission didn't know what the special service districts were doing and the boards under the county commission. And so we're just trying to get that a little bit tighter. We want to know what's going on, and we want to be able to direct it in the way that the county commission wants it directed.
Mechanisms are great. I couldn't see any way to change the mechanisms you're using. It seems that you're following the law correctly, and certainly the process you're following for selection is correct. You can't be responsible for a change of direction above you, but within the parameters you've been granted, I think you're doing an excellent job.
I'm still not clear what we are to tell the applicants that we're going to be interviewing. Are we going to tell them that they will be reporting to you, or they will be reporting to this board? We need some direction as to how to tell them what the job entails.
Right now, it's going to stay the same, Tom, until we have a chance to go through it, and then we'll come to the travel council or the commission.
But we can expect
Explain.
that within this next budget year.
I would say this year sometime, yes.
And what is it exactly you don't think that I keep hearing the phrase from people that the travel council is out of control, not from people, from people
Well-
within the county, and I'd just like to know,
Okay.
do you mean that you can't control us, or that
No,
we're doing something?
I don't have any problem with the travel council. There's people out there just saying that there's a lot of money going to be involved in the travel council, and the commission needs to know where that money
Well, but there
gonna
is a
be
mechanism
spent
set up for you to
and their
know that.
direction. And
You're the
our
liaison to
direction
this
is-
board.
I know that.
And you
I know
never
that.
come to the meetings, and that's why you don't know what's going on.
I know what's going on, Tom.
Though the tone of the meeting was low-key, there was some strong criticism of the commission.
It's perceived by a lot of people here, maybe I'm wrong, but and to me, it seems like this effort to appoint a person, whoever that would be, by two individuals, county commissioners, or if it was three, without going through a proven selection process that's always been done quite well and quite fairly and well balanced for the interest of the community and the county, just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense to anybody here, I don't think. And that's why these doubts are now raised. That's why we're here.
Was why did you feel that you getting together, making a political appointment, would get a better qualified person for the job than going through this entire procedure?
I think I'm a pretty good judge of character, Tim. I think I could pick somebody that could do the job.
Have you seen the other 28 applicants
No, I
to
haven't.
see their character?
No, I haven't.
Well, I didn't see their character.
Well, the thing you have to understand is that's why when we came back and it was already out for advertising, we decided to go through the process.
What I think is there's at least 2 county commissioners in this county that think they're smarter than this group sitting around here as to how to spend that money. And they see a pot of money there, and it's going to be bigger this year because there's 5 new motels going in town. It's going to be a lot bigger. And they say, well, here's a way that we can use this money, and we can just about justify anything as tourism in this town. It can go a lot of places it's not going now, and we can call it tourism. And I think that's what's going to happen if they are allowed to operate that transient room tax the way they want to do it. And I would hope that this group, and I assume most of you are here in support of the Travel Council, it sounds like it by the applause, I would hope that a group like this, it's a sizable and a very influential group in this town, would not let this happen, would not let the county commissioners circumvent this process and get their hands directly on that money.
Well, just to be sure that we don't always agree, I'd like to disagree with something Tom said. I think his comment about the commission getting their hands on the money, I don't think is quite on the mark, because the county commission has its hands on the money. This money comes to the county commission, it goes through this board, and we sort of distribute it, or mainly we're advisors and helpers to the commission.
It's their responsibility, not ours.
And we do it only with their approval. Still, some of the sense of what you said, I'm not going to invalidate, but just the comments of getting their hands on it, that way of expressing, I don't like that.
This board has been one of the most successful that I've ever had the pleasure to serve on, and has done the best overall job over the last, say, 6 years that I've really watched them, than any other group similar in other communities and other resort associations that I've been connected with. They do an excellent job. They get the biggest bang out of the buck that I've seen.
So as of now, the Travel Council will proceed with its plans to screen the applications and make a recommendation. But the final choice will be with the Commission, who can either go along with the recommendation or reject it and make their own choice. And that decision is expected at their next County Commission meeting. The Moab City Council looks at what to do about the dump. And LDS Church opposition to a legislative bill could spell the end to Moab's wine industry. We'll have those stories when Channel 6 News continues.
Music of Moab, music for everyone. Jazz, country, rock, classical, blues, and top 40. Everything for your listening pleasure is now available at Music of Moab. Conveniently located in the Western Plaza, Music of Moab carries your favorite music, CDs, cassettes, and a wide selection of music accessories. Music of Moab, your music headquarters for southeastern Utah. Music of Moab, music for everyone.
Through the seasons, through the miles, through the rough country of southeastern Utah, we get you through. We're GTE. We're your telephone company.
For a high-quality, full-service repair shop, it's Certified Ford, 500 South Main. A computerized digital engine analyzer for today's advanced design automobiles enables the mechanics at Certified to return your car to factory specs. No matter what kind of car you drive, when it's time for service, see the experts at Certified Ford, 500 South Main, your hometown dealer.
The Moab City Council has scheduled a special workshop meeting next Tuesday for a discussion of what to do about the dump. Right now, the landfill is managed by Grand County, but in their 1992 budget, the County Commission only put in enough money to run the facility for about 6 months. They say that if the city doesn't help pay for the dump, the county will pull out this summer. City Council members decided at their meeting this week to get to work on the problem now rather than waiting until a crisis.
Last regular meeting, January 21st, in my report, I proposed that we set up a joint meeting with city county officials to set the specifications for running the landfill. Also, in conclusion of that same meeting, I indicated that we should set up the specifications and bids and whatever that we need to, basically just addressing that situation. And I keep bringing it up, Dave's brought it up, and I think that the basic point that I'm trying to make is that, just like I said earlier, we just need to do that, and I think that we better do it tonight. I want us to get moving on this because whether we feel threatened or whether we don't, I think we've got to do something. We've got to take action.
To protect against what they call a worst-case scenario, council members say they have been talking with Grand Junction solid waste disposal companies about making sure Moab City residents are taken care of in case the landfill here is closed. The latest statistics from the state of Utah show that the job situation got better in December here in Moab, although region-wide, southeast Utah continues to have almost double the unemployment rate of the rest of Utah. The latest Utah labor market report from the Department of Employment Security shows that the jobless rate in Grand County during December was 7.6%. That's a drop from November's rate of 8.4%. But it's slightly higher than 1 year ago when unemployment stood at 7.3%. Other southeast Utah counties did not fare as well. Carbon unemployment stood at 9.2%. San Juan at 9.8%, and Emory at 11.5%. By far the hardest hit area of the state is central Utah. In San Pete County, the jobless rate was 11.4%, and in Piute County, 14.4%. Statewide, Utah has about 5.4% of its workforce idle. If you have business with the county clerk's office, it will be open 1 hour less than in the past. The County Commission this week gave its approval to a recommendation from Clerk Fran Townsend that the office open to the public 1 hour later each morning, moving the opening time from 8 to 9 a.m. The reason for the change is to give the clerk's department a chance to do organizational work and hold staff meetings without interruptions.
Have you talked to the other department heads on what they wanted to?
I have, and they have no problem at all. They don't desire to change the office hours for their office, and at this point anyway.
Okay, so the only office we're talking about then is the clerk's
Will
office.
be the clerk's office.
Okay.
You are open from 8 to 5?
Ken, what we'll do
sure.
from now on then is the clerk's office will be open at 8 o'clock, but for the public it will open at 9.
Business
Given
hours from 9 to 5.
9 to 5. That way it gives them an hour to prepare for anything that might come before them during that day, okay?
The LDS Church has come out against loosening a big tax on wine, and that could mean the end of Arches Vineyards here in Moab. Arches, located in Spanish Valley, is the only wine producer in Utah. It has been selling Utah-grown wine since 1991 and has been seen as a big part of an emerging industry. Right now, the state charges a hefty 60% tax on the vineyard's profits. Owner Anita Bradford told the House Revenue and Taxation Committee that if the burden is not reduced, it could put her out of business. State Representative David Adams has sponsored a bill that would cut the tax in half at the vineyard's tasting room and at an on-site retail outlet. But LDS Church spokesman Bill Evans said he wants the legislature to put the bill back into a study committee, effectively removing it from a vote this year. It hasn't been the best of sessions for Adams, who is Mormon. He also proposed a bill to let counties vote on allowing parimutuel betting on horse races. The church opposed that as well, and it was withdrawn from consideration. Channel 6 is changing its morning news schedule. Right now, our broadcast is repeated each morning at 7:30 and 9:30. But from now on, the 9:30 broadcast will be moved forward 3 hours and will go on at 12:30 in the afternoon. And the news schedule will begin on Monday, February 10th. Up next is the Canyon Country weather forecast when Channel 6 News continues.
Prices are low at Subway, but I'd rather focus on sandwiches. People call them hoagies or heroes or submarines because they're shaped like submarines, but we call them Subway sandwiches. Our 6-inch meatball sub features meatballs and sauce on bread I just baked, all for a low economical price. I won't say how low, but you'll probably find enough in the cushions of your couch.
For 25 years, Subway has quietly made some of the best sandwiches anywhere, like the 6-inch meatball sub, only $1.69, only at Subway.
For the most comfortable seat in the house, it's a Lane Action Recliner from Moab Hardware and Furniture. Action recliners are designed and engineered with careful attention to every detail for years of comfort. You'll find one just right for your house and decor with a wide selection available. Test drive one today and find out why it's called the most comfortable seat in the house. From Moab Hardware and Furniture, 96 South Main.
Cloudy skies hung over the valley on Friday, and look for more clouds, but with patches of sunshine over the next few days. The official National Weather Service forecast for Moab and Canyon Country calls for partly cloudy skies through the weekend, with a chance of some blue skies on Sunday. Then it's back to clouds and a chance of rain. Look for high temperatures between 45 and 50 degrees, and overnight lows down around 25. The long-range forecast says we can look for a chance of some rain or even snow by Tuesday. And that's the news of Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Tricia Maroney reporting.
Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Dee Tranter reporting. Republican candidate for U.S. Senate Joe Cannon comes to Moab. We'll have that story when Channel 6 News continues.
For all your insurance needs in Moab, it's Central Utah Insurance. Home, auto, business, and life. You can depend on the fast, friendly service at Central Utah Insurance, 471 South Main.
First
First Western National Bank is bringing affordable home lending back to Moab with 15 and 30-year fixed mortgages at very attractive rates. If you're thinking about buying a new home or refinancing your current loan, stop by and talk to our loan counselors. Home ownership and refinancing for very little down. Just another good reason that First Western National Bank is your hometown bank in Moab.
For the past month, Utah television watchers have been seeing political ads by Joe Cannon, Republican candidate for the U.S. Senate. And the ads seem to work. Polls show Cannon way ahead of others vying for the nomination. Cannon is president of Geneva Steel, a company he took over during the 1980s. The plant was closed, but now is a profitable operation. If Cannon wins the party's nomination, he's most likely to face Democratic Congressman Wayne Owens. Cannon was in Moab Monday, speaking to potential Republican Party state convention delegates, and he stopped by Channel 6 to explain to Moab voters why he is running.
The real reason I'm going in trying to do this, and I am basically what I'd call a citizen politician. I've never run for public office before, and my view is that I've run a business. I've had firsthand experience dealing with a lot of the problems that many of us face, and that back in Washington, a lot of people back there seem to have sort of become isolated from some of the problems that businesses and families face out here. And so I've traded with Japan, for example. I have to worry about taxes. I have to worry about meeting a payroll at the end of the day. All those things are things that not too many people in Washington have had direct experience doing, and I felt like I could go back and make a difference.
One of Cannon's campaign themes is the success of Geneva and how he can translate those lessons to the federal government.
Well, first of all, just a simple thing, working within a budget. In other words, the dealing with the economic realities that most people deal with, that's one thing. I truly think that people back in Washington sometimes just have either forgotten or didn't know the economic realities that most businesses and most families have to deal with. So that's one thing. Second, I think it illustrates a problem-solving approach that I have. It's not that making steel has anything directly to do with being a U.S. Senator, but the idea of taking an old facility that was being shut down by a big company that needed modernization and had lots of problems, to take that and make it into a profitable thing.
The dominant political question in the nation today is the health of the economy. The Bush administration has been under heavy criticism for not doing anything about it, and the president's popularity has slipped in recent months. But Cannon believes the administration is not at fault.
I hate to get into, who struck John type of a deal, but the fact is the president has proposed a number of things that would have helped very substantially that Congress has continually rejected. People blame the president for the budget deficit. It's the Congress who actually creates the budget at the end of the day. They're the ones who have, by the Constitution, and in reality, proposed the spending plans, and they've so the first thing that needs to happen is we need to attack the deficit. We need to get used to spending less instead of more every year.
And Cannon lays out 3 areas he feels will help end the recession.
We need a tax policy that encourages people to save. Why is that? Because the more money that is that's saved, it creates greater capital for use to create jobs and growth. We don't have we have the lowest savings rate in the Western world because people don't save money. Indeed, why should they? Because we don't have any incentive for them to save. We need to reduce the capital gains tax. Many countries don't even have a capital gains tax, encouraging people then to invest in job creation and growth, and that's another thing that we need. The third thing is trade policy. And this is where I'm slightly different from the president, and it's just, I'm not running against him. I embrace George Bush, but on this one area, trade policy, we need to do something different. We're exporting hundreds of thousands, if not millions of jobs and I don't want to protect American industry. I happen to think Lee Iacocca is a whiner. Let him build a better car is my answer to him. But there are plenty of areas where America competes very well on a worldwide basis, very well. But we don't have access to foreign markets in the same way they have access to our market. And so my simple view on that is let's get market access in other countries.
But while Cannon leads in polls among Republicans, statewide he still trails Wayne Owens. On our next broadcast, we'll talk with Cannon about the environmental record of Geneva Steel, his views on wilderness and multiple use, and what he thinks of Wayne Owens. Memorial services will be held Tuesday for Lillian McCormick, who died Saturday at her home in Moab. She was 80 years of age. Lillian was a familiar figure to generations of young people in Moab, where for about 20 years she was a teacher and a counselor with the schools. She was also an avid flyer and four-wheel drive enthusiast. She is survived by her brother, Ken of Layton. A memorial service will be held Tuesday, February 11th at 3 p.m. at St. Francis Episcopal Church, and a memorial fund in her name has been established for the church and for the Grand County Library. Moab actors get ready for winter theater season in town. And both the Red Devil and She-Devil basketball teams were in action over the weekend. We'll have those stories when Channel 6 News continues.
Through the seasons, through the miles, through the rough country of southeastern Utah, we get you through. We're GTE. We're your telephone company.
For a high-quality, full-service repair shop, it's Certified Ford, 500 South Main. A computerized digital engine analyzer for today's advanced design automobiles enables the mechanics at Certified to return your car to factory specs. No matter what kind of car you drive, when it's time for service, see the experts at Certified Ford, 500 South Main, your hometown dealer.
Introducing from McDonald's. Not one thing, but two, both hot and delicious. The Mushroom and Swiss Grill, scrumptious sautéed mushrooms, fresh onions and melted Swiss cheese. The Lettuce and Tomato Grill, fresh onion, crisp leafy lettuce, and a thick slice of juicy tomato. Now the best part, just 99 cents each. Introducing the new Mushroom and Swiss Grill and the Lettuce and Tomato Grill, just 99 cents each. From McDonald's today, for a limited time.
Seceding from the Navajo Nation may be the only way Utah Navajos can get a fair deal. That was the conclusion of Mark Maryboy, San Juan County Commissioner and also a representative of the Navajo tribal government in Window Rock. In recent months, massive waste and possible financial theft has been reported from the Utah Navajo Trust Fund. The fund receives revenues from oil and gas leases on reservation land in this state, and the money is supposed to go to provide services and economic development for tribal members. But a recent state audit showed much of that money was thrown away on high salaries for bureaucrats and loans and grants to companies that went bankrupt. Even with massive new contributions to the fund, it has shrunk over the past 30 years from $62 million down to about $10 million. Utah state officials ran the trust and has taken some of the heat for not keeping an eye on it. Now the state wants the Navajo Nation to take it over. That bothers Maryboy, who worries political leaders in Arizona are not in touch with the needs of Utah Navajos and that the money should stay here. So he has proposed that Utah Navajos leave the Navajo Nation and form their own entity. He admits the task would be a difficult undertaking and that it might not be viable, but he adds that he would rather go for it rather than continue to lose that trust money. Moab Thespians are getting ready for a big production. Rehearsals have been going on for weeks now for the 1992 winter run of Moab Community Theater, which begins this Thursday. This year's production includes 3 one-act comedies. The first, a look at modern family stuck on psychoanalysis, stars Debbie Belknap, Brent Bentley, and Rhonda Scott, and is directed by Joe Kiffmeyer and co-directed by Becky Thomas. The second, The Origin of Escargot, written and directed by Moab's Rick Fulham, stars Randy Evans, Joe Arnold, and Gilles Gosselin. And the last play, about a 48-year-old man getting his draft notice, stars Jim Kelly and Amber Nodine, and is directed by Michaeline Pendleton. The play is open Thursday at Star Hall. Ron Nagel will be the featured speaker at the Tuesday Chamber of Commerce luncheon. Nagel is a member of the Citizens Pro-Development Advisory Committee set up by the County Commission. He will report on the committee's upcoming activities, including plans for a community meeting this year. That luncheon is open to the public and gets underway at noon at the Cattleman's Restaurant south on Highway 191. There was high school basketball action here in Moab over the weekend, and here's Ken Davey with a report.
San Juan High School women's basketball program is one of the best in the state's 2A division, and when they came to town over the weekend to play the She-Devils, they showed their talent. The Broncos were able to move the ball with relative ease, scoring both inside and outside. And while the She-Devils kept it close for the first half, they were missing shots and the Broncos were making them. And San Juan pulled away as the game went on and coasted to an easy 52-32 victory. But the She-Devils were not without some good plays. On one play, Jesse Robinson passed to T.L. Warner, who found Melissa Brox for an inside score. Brox also showed an eye for the outside shot, sinking this three-pointer, and Warner showed technique under the boards, grabbing a rebound and getting 2 points. It was the last home game of the year for the She-Devils. They play this Thursday at Rifle. But the news was a lot better Friday night at the gym when a big crowd came out to watch the Red Devils against Green River. It's been a long year for the team, especially seniors Corey Cox and Ambrose Toney, who've been excellent during a frustrating season. But Friday night against Green River, that frustration was gone, as the Red Devils came out hard and played their best game of the year. Jim Olson broke up a Pirate pass with a good defensive move. Toney took it down the court, where he found Cox waiting underneath for a score that gave the Red Devils a narrow lead in the second half. The Pirates hung tough, pumping in a three-pointer, but the Red Devils answered with their own on a pretty Cox to Toney, back to Cox move, and a three-point score of their own, and suddenly it was crunch time. And when the pressure was on, the Red Devils came through. Some cool foul shooting by Cox and Olson gave the Devils a three-point lead with just a few seconds left. Then good defense stopped the Pirates, and the Devils iced the game with a long outlet pass and a score by Cody Holyoke. That was enough to end it, and when it was over, the gym exploded. Cox led the Devils with 23 points. Jim Olson tossed in 19, and Ambrose Toney added 18 of his own, and Moab won its first game of the year. The Devils have one more home game Thursday evening with Rifle, and if they win, they can get into the regional tournament, and they're looking for a big crowd to be on hand to help them along. This is Ken Davey for Channel 6.
Up next is the Canyon Country weather forecast when the Channel 6 News continues.
You should be careful on the roof because power lines are electric and they can hurt you by accident.
If you touch the power line, you can get electrocuted.
If you see anyone on the roof, remind them of power lines up there.
It only takes one, you know.
It hasn't been a problem for me because I don't spend much time on the roof.
If your sporty car doesn't feel so sporty anymore, you need a change. By the team, the B.F. Goodrich Tire Team. They'll put on B.F. Goodrich TA Performance tires. Tires designed just for your sporty car. You'll feel a whole new level of performance. See your B.F. Goodrich Tire Team if they don't see you first.
Your B.F. Goodrich Tire Team in Moab is Grand Tire, 312 North Main.
Clouds hung over the valley on Monday, and we should have more of the same. The official National Weather Service forecast for Moab and Canyon Country calls for partly cloudy to mostly cloudy skies through Tuesday and Wednesday with some showers and snow at higher elevations. Look for afternoon high temperatures staying in the low to mid-50s with overnight lows down to around the freezing mark. Long-range forecast calls for the clouds and possible rain to continue right on through Friday, with highs by the end of the week around 50 degrees. And that's news of Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Dee Tranter reporting. Have a good day.
Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Tricia Maroney reporting. Republican candidate for Senate Joe Cannon gives his views on wilderness, grazing, and the Senate race opponent Wayne Owens. We'll have that story when Channel 6 News continues.
Prices are low at Subway, but I'd rather focus on sandwiches. People call them hoagies or heroes or submarines because they're shaped like submarines, but we call them Subway sandwiches. Our 6-inch meatball sub features meatballs and sauce on bread I just baked, all for a low economical price. I won't say how low, but you'll probably find enough in the cushions of your couch.
For 25 years, Subway has quietly made some of the best sandwiches anywhere, like the 6-inch meatball sub, only $1.69, only at Subway.
First Western National Bank is bringing affordable home lending back to Moab with 15 and 30-year fixed mortgages at very attractive rates. If you're thinking about buying a new home or refinancing your current loan, stop by and talk to our loan counselors. Home ownership and refinancing for very little down. Just another good reason that First Western National Bank is your hometown bank in Moab. Joe Cannon, president of Geneva Steel in Provo, is currently the leading Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, running to take the seat of retiring Jake Garn. Cannon was in Moab this week meeting with Republican leaders and the media. Geneva Steel has been held up as an example of good economic management. Cannon took the obsolete plant, got it up and running, and has made money and kept people working. But Geneva has also been criticized as one of the major contributors to heavy pollution that has made Provo air among the worst in the nation. But Cannon says the plant has done a lot to reduce that pollution, and he defends his record.
Short of shutting Geneva down, no one could have done more faster than I did as the chief executive officer at Geneva Steel. And I say that I'll stand up to anybody who wants to match that record. See, for 4 years I was at the Environmental Protection Agency. I'm one of the few guys in history who's been responsible for regulation and then has had to go out and spend $100 million complying with the regulation, approximately $100 million. And we did it years before anybody could make us do it. If we were a typical company, there is yet to be a company along the Wasatch Front that has spent a nickel on this PM10 standard. We're almost through spending $100 million on it. EPA gave us an award for that, as well as other people in the community, and we're believers because we live there. I live in Provo.
The White House is now looking at the BLM recommendation to set aside 1.9 million acres of land in Utah as wilderness. That's far too much for some people and far too little for others. Cannon doesn't want to get into the numbers of acres, but he does defend multiple use.
First of all, I reject the whole discussion of 1 million or 5 million. I think it's a political argument that on both sides they're talking about, well, if we start down here, and Wayne says if I start up here, eventually we'll compromise on something. My own view, first of all, I have a very firm view on the role and importance of multiple use in a state that is nearly 2/3 owned by federal and state lands. And I've got a big problem with saying we're gonna just lock up for time and all eternity certain big portions of that land without doing, see, it's not that I'm opposed to wilderness. What I want to see happen is basically a cost-benefit analysis, looking at the economic consequences of, for the whole state of particular designations of wilderness. And that's what I'd like to see happen. If we start abandoning the principle of multiple use, it's going to have devastating economic consequences in the long term for our state, and not just for people who live in rural Utah. I mean, this has implications for the school systems of the state and for the tax base of the state. So I'm very anxious to continue supporting the concept of multiple use.
Cannon also comes down on the side of ranchers who use public lands for grazing. Twice the U.S. Congress has voted to raise the fees for grazing, but twice the Senate, led by Western senators, has killed the attempts. Cannon says he opposes changing that fee structure.
When you graze on public land, what you're doing is you have to pay for lots of the infrastructure kinds of things on that public land in order to graze your cattle there. And so I don't think that an increase, in my view, an artificial increase in the grazing fee is a good thing for our economy. And plus, I don't actually think it reflects the market reality of setting grazing fees. Comparing private grazing fees and public grazing fees is not a fair comparison because of the things that go into private land that don't go into public lands.
Cannon's major opponent will most likely be Congressman Wayne Owens, who is way ahead in the race for the Democratic nomination. What does Cannon think of him?
Wayne, and I know I'm not supposed to say this in southern Utah, but Wayne was helpful to Geneva, so I give him full credit for helping us. What I've said to Wayne is that, to his face, and I'm not saying something I haven't said directly to Wayne, Wayne is here and the rest of the people from Utah are over here. Ideologically, Wayne simply does not represent the state of Utah. I'm not saying that's bad or wicked on his part. It's a fact that even he understands that. He is not ideologically consistent with most of the people in our state.
This is the first open Senate election in memory. And even though there are others in the race, Cannon and Owens are clearly the frontrunners, and both hope to avoid a primary election by getting heavy support at the state convention level. So as of now, it looks like a two-person race. Services will be held Wednesday evening for Moab resident Alfred Dale Fine, who died Monday at Allen Memorial Hospital. He was 57 years of age. He is survived by his wife Lorraine of Moab, son Vernon of California, and daughter Georgia of Washington. He is also survived by a brother Don of California and 2 grandchildren. Services will be Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. at the Dish Funeral Home. Republican candidate for Congress Steve Densley gets off on the wrong foot, and the Moab Youth Soccer Program is looking for players and for adult supervisors. We'll have those stories when Channel 6 News continues.
Cold weather's here, so now's the time to visit Rim Cyclery for the best in outdoor clothing. Rim has a wide selection of coats and jackets, including North Face and Patagonia, along with the best in men's and women's shirts, women's ensembles, and polypropylene underwear for lightweight and high-tech warmth. Relax after a day on the slopes in a pair of comfortable and luxurious slippers, and keep your youngest outdoor adventurer warm this winter with clothing from Rim's Kids Corner. Rim Cyclery is your headquarters for cross-country ski equipment rentals, sales, and information. 94 West, 1st North in Moab.
Through the seasons, through the miles, through the rough country of southeastern Utah, we get you through. We're GTE. We're your telephone company.
If you're looking for a good gas furnace, then look to Nelson's Heating and Refrigeration for the answer. Quality trained furnaces will give you years of dependable service at an affordable price. A trained furnace will pay for itself with better heating efficiency. Nelson's also the place for Maytag and Whirlpool appliances. Come in today and talk to the experts at Nelson's Heating and Refrigeration, 1070 Bowling Alley Lane.
In the race for Congress against Bill Orton, the Republicans once again have a candidate. Steve Densley, a businessman and former president of the Provo-Orem Chamber of Commerce, officially entered the race on Monday. Densley ran 2 years ago, but did not get enough votes at the convention to enter the primary. Until last week, the Republicans seemed united behind Lieutenant Governor Val Oveson, who was considered a very strong candidate to get the seat back for the GOP. But last Friday, Oveson announced he was pulling out of the race, and Densley has stepped forward. But so far, Densley is having trouble. KTVX criticized his news conference for referring to Orton being a bachelor, and KSL Television criticized him for claiming Orton was a politically close to independent socialist Congressman Bernie Sanders of Vermont.
Less than a year and a half ago, they attacked Congressman Bill Orton for not having a family, and it may have cost them a congressional seat. Now, Utah's Republican Party may be up to its old tricks.
I'm not criticizing Bill. While Steve Densley claims he isn't criticizing Bill Orton's single lifestyle, he certainly isn't praising it. Bill Orton's never had to put 6 kids through the public education system of Utah.
Densley is wasting no time going on the offensive. But how much is an early attack on Bill Orton fact, and how much is fiction?
It sounded incredible.
Now, you need to understand, too, as we've researched the voting record, that Bill has voted almost identically with the one socialist in Congress. He is voting the same as the socialist. You draw your own conclusions.
It either reflects poor analytical skills to make that kind of a claim, or, and more troublesome, it reflects a deliberate attempt to misinform the voters.
But Densley's comments today illustrate something important in politics. You can use some facts your way to tell your story.
Orton is a conservative Democrat on many issues closer to Republican philosophy than Democratic. While the Grand County Republican Party will support whoever the party chooses as a candidate against him, many local Republican leaders say privately that they are very happy with the job Orton is doing. 6 members of the Grand County High School Red Devil Wrestlers went off to the state tournament last weekend. Dan Rayburn, John Mealy, Guy Johnston, Justin Woodard, John Meadows, and Jeremy Perriott represented Moab, and overall, they did a good job. Meadows placed 6th in his division, while Perriott came in 4th in his. Woodard just missed placing by 1 point, and Johnston missed just by 2 points. And according to Coach George Durfee, it was a successful year for the entire team. The Moab Youth Soccer League is getting ready to go with sign-up next week. Steve Robinson is the Moab City Recreation Director, and he told Channel 6 a little bit about the program.
The soccer program is a program we started a few years back in the recreation for kids that aren't interested in basketball, wrestling, and baseball, but it's turned out that these kids enjoy all of the sports, and it's something to take up the time between when we finish up with the jazz and the wrestling and the baseball. It's something for kids to do in the spring when they get out and they're rambunctious, and they really seem to enjoy it. They're ready to run, they're ready to play.
What ages is this program for?
It's for 3rd grade and up to 8th grade. And we don't have anything on the high school level. I know there has been talk of it, and I do believe they have tried to form an adult soccer league. In last year, Scott Bentley, I believe, tried to put one together.
Is this for boys or girls, or is it for both?
It's boys and girls combined. They play on the same teams. Now, when they get into the older age groups, 7th and 8th grade, they do split up and are trying to get games with out-of-town teams if they can.
If a youngster is interested in playing, what should they do?
Okay, we're going to have a sign-up on February 19th. That's Wednesday. That'll be a week from this Wednesday at 7 p.m., room 2 at the high school.
And Robinson said the city is looking for adults to help run the program.
We're looking for any adult person that is interested in working with young people in the soccer program as far as a coach or an official or possibly even organizing the program.
How much knowledge of soccer do you have to have?
Very little, very little. In our program, it's a novice program where it's basically teaching the kids some fundamentals of soccer, and we do have people around that are able to do that, and we'll help you.
If you would like to get involved, you can leave a message for Robinson at City Hall or call him at home in the evenings at 259-7216. The Moab chapter of the American Association of Retired Persons will hold its regular monthly luncheon meeting this Thursday. The featured speaker will be Don Falk. This lunch begins at 12:30 and at the Cattleman's Restaurant, south on Highway 191. And for further information, you can call 259-5394 or 259-6241. Up next is the Canyon Country weather forecast when Channel 6 News continues.
For all your insurance needs in Moab, it's Central Utah Insurance. Home, auto, business, and life. You can depend on the fast, friendly service at Central Utah Insurance, 471 South Main.
For a high-quality, full-service repair shop, it's Certified Ford, 500 South Main. A computerized digital engine analyzer for today's advanced design automobiles enables the mechanics at Certified to return your car to factory specs. No matter what kind of car you drive, when it's time for service, see the experts at Certified Ford, 500 South Main, your hometown dealer.
Clouds hung over the valley on Tuesday with more of the same on the way. The official National Weather Service forecast for Moab and Canyon Country calls for partly to mostly cloudy skies through Wednesday. Afternoon high temperatures should stay in the mid-50s with overnight lows around 35. And the long-range forecast calls for clouds to continue with some chance of occasional showers through to the weekend. And that's the news of Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Tricia Maroney reporting.
Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Dee Tranter reporting. There will be more delays in the release of an environmental impact statement on the Book Cliff Highway. We'll have that story when Channel 6 News continues.
First Western National Bank is bringing affordable home lending back to Moab with 15 and 30-year fixed mortgages at very attractive rates. If you're thinking about buying a new home or refinancing your current loan, stop by and talk to our loan counselors. Home ownership and refinancing for very little down. Just another good reason that First Western National Bank is your hometown bank in Moab.
If your sporty car doesn't feel so sporty anymore, you need a change. By the team, the BF Goodrich Tire Team. They'll put on BF Goodrich TA Performance tires. Tires designed just for your sporty car. You'll feel a whole new level of performance. See your BF Goodrich Tire Team if they don't see you first.
Your BF Goodrich Tire Team in Moab is Grand Tire, 312 North Main.
For more than a year now, local residents have been waiting for an environmental impact statement on the proposed Book Cliffs Highway. And according to the BLM, we may be waiting for a few more months. Here's Ken Davey with a report.
The release of a draft environmental impact statement on the proposed highway through the Book Cliffs probably won't be available for a few more months. That was the view of Moab District BLM Planning Environmental Coordinator Darrell Trotter. Trotter is overseeing the environmental study of the plan by the Grand and Uinta Special Service Road Districts to build a highway through the Book Cliffs from Cisco to the Vernal area. Since they are asking for a right-of-way across BLM land, federal law requires that the environmental impacts be looked at. So the road districts chose the engineering firm of ENSR to prepare the EIS, and the BLM approved that choice. The study was due out more than a year ago, but changes in the proposal have delayed its release, and Trotter says that questions coming up now will delay it even more.
Right now we are analyzing and looking at the spotted owl came up as an issue when we got the list from the Fish and Wildlife Service. The Mexican spotted owl came up as an issue, and we are determining right now if there is potential habitat there. That is one of the reasons for the delay. Also, when the county went out and surveyed the road, they came up with a new alternative or a new route, which went up Hay Canyon. When they did that, it brought in the Corps of Engineers, so the Corps of Engineers has to look at that route and make some determinations.
Right now, a preliminary draft has been completed and is being circulated among the government entities involved, including the road boards. But Trotter says the actual draft is still being put together.
All we're doing right now is preparing what is called the preliminary draft. That's the point that BLM looks at the document. It's BLM's document. It is being prepared under a third-party contract, and we are looking at the document to make sure that it meets BLM standards and Council on Environmental Quality standards. At the point we determine that it has been prepared adequately, BLM will accept that and release it to the public for 90 days.
But what has been written has caused some concern among road supporters because of conclusions that challenge the basis of the project. According to the road boards, the aim of the highway is to provide an all-weather route to oil and gas fields in the Book Cliffs. At least 2 county commissioners here have gone on record in favor of the project because they believe it will result in more exploration and revenues from oil and mineral production. But the preliminary EIS draft says that's not true. The document states, quote, interviews with major oil and gas operators, drilling companies, and oil well service providers have indicated that although the road would be beneficial to oil and gas operations in the Uinta Basin from the standpoint of facilitating access to some of the production areas, it would not necessarily influence an increase in drilling or production of any minerals, including oil, gas, oil shale, or tar sands. It goes on to say, quote, the major driving force increasing production is, as always, market price. The second major reason for the road was to provide a north-south route for tourism. But the preliminary EIS draft indicates that it would not have a major effect on tourism. It states, quote, the economic benefit from the estimated increase in tourist traffic is not particularly significant except during the peak month, July or August, unquote. It goes on to say that even during that peak time, the amount generated is, quote, not considered a significant impact to the area. According to an article in the Times Independent, those conclusions have been challenged by a Uinta County Commissioner. And here in Moab, Grand County Commissioners have expressed their disagreement as well.
I'm aware that they don't agree with the analysis, but the analysis is what it is. It's based on interviews with people, and it's based on the numbers that we have generated by talking to individuals.
But although those conclusions are in the document, the BLM's role is not to decide if the road is a good investment, but rather to be sure environmental concerns are taken into account. The final decision on the road falls to the counties. And if you have any views and feelings on the road, you'll have to wait to express them. The completed draft EIS is still off in the future.
My best guess is 2 to 3 months it will be released to the public.
And then what happens after that?
It will be out for a 90-day comment period where the general public, everybody can comment on it. The comments will come back in. We will rewrite and analyze those comments and possibly make changes in the EIS and release it as a final. And then when it's been released as a final for 30 days, a decision will be made.
Who makes that decision?
The decision is made by BLM, the district manager, state director.
This is Ken Davey for Channel 6.
The Moab City Council says no to a county proposal to share the cost of the landfill. We'll have that story when Channel 6 News continues.
Gentlemen, we need to talk about Valentine's Day. This time you'll get the perfect Valentine at the perfect price right here at City Market Floral Shop with beautiful long stem roses and candy. cut flower bouquets, and Valentine cards. And exclusively at City Market, a sweetheart checkout line to make it even easier. The perfect gift for Valentine's at City Market, the best floral shop in town.
It's Valentine season at On the Edge. Surprise her with a top with a southwestern flair. And to warm his heart, the 92 Glacier Fire Wranglers. Make this year red hot at On the Edge.
Introducing from McDonald's. Not one thing, but two, both hot and delicious. The Mushroom and Swiss Grill, scrumptious sautéed mushrooms, fresh onions, and melted Swiss cheese. The Lettuce and Tomato Grill, fresh onion, crisp leafy lettuce, and a thick slice of juicy tomato. Now the best part, just 99 cents each. Introducing the new Mushroom and Swiss Grill and the Lettuce and Tomato Grill, just 99 cents each. From McDonald's today, for a limited time.
It doesn't look like the city of Moab will directly subsidize the operation of the landfill. That was the conclusion of a special Moab City Council meeting held Tuesday evening to discuss the long-standing dispute with Grand County over who should operate and pay for the dump. Right now, the dump cost is paid by the county, but this year, commissioners have only allocated enough money in their budget to run the facility for 6 months. Commissioners have said they want the city to help them in paying for it. But city council members believe that would be unfair to city residents who already pay through their county taxes. They proposed instead that a special service district be set up.
Whoever operates the dump, and I hope it's a district, I hope it is in the city, and I hope it is in the county. I don't want anything to do with it. I absolutely want nothing to do with it as county. But first of all, a district is going to be phased to, I hope they'll form a district if we request. If we represent 60% of the people in this community, then we have the right to request the county commission to form a district to operate this dump. For the 18 months or so, we can certainly, if possible, help it in some way or another, whatever that might be.
We're speaking, as Bill said, 60-some percent of the county residents in requesting the county entity to proceed in this direction. And I think the gist of what David said, just to clarify that if I'm corrected, and that is not to make any financial commitment this time, just simply go back to them and say, we're not willing to make a financial commitment, but we are requesting that you proceed to set up a special service district for the purpose of operation of that dump.
I believe that as county residents, we are all paying for that now, and if we as city residents agree to pick up half of it, we'd be double taxed.
We got to get down to the basics, the residents of Grand County and their needs. And this is an equitable user fee, just like sewer and water-based situation. And I believe, Bill, if we sat down and analyzed it tomorrow, we could come up with enough money in the county to operate this thing until they could get the money coming in. But that's not even the point. The point is they need to get a mechanism in place to fairly compensate the operation of the dump.
I think that we're already paying our fair share. The city residents are already paying their fair share toward the operation of the dump. And I kind of like what Dan was saying, it is definitely a double taxation if we continue to take out of the city coffers now to pay that, because we're not collecting anything through property taxes or anything for the operation of that dump.
I think a special service district like we talked about would be the way to do it. It'd be no different than having a mosquito abatement board or whatever.
It seems at this moment that they are pretty adamant that there will be no district.
Well, why should they be adamant in saying that we're going to have to pay anything if they're not reasonably willing to cooperate with us?
This thing that we're involved in, as far as all the finger pointing and so forth, but unfortunately, I guess that comes with the territory. But one of the things that I've been thinking about, regardless of where we go, in any kind of an agreement or understanding between the city and the county, and that is if the city, because I hear some discussion from within our organization that we just take the dump and operate. If that's the case, if that ever comes to be, well, I think one of the things that we need to address to the county is that if the city does take over the operation of the dump, that the county basically does owe Grand County taxpayers some type of refund or something for taxes collected for the sole purpose of operating that dump. Now, if we take it over, they're still collecting the taxes for that operation. And in years past, we've been told, I don't know, I've heard figures, 150, 200,000, whatever it is. Are they willing, that'd be my question to them, are they willing to refund that back to the taxpayers?
I would move that we support, because of the fairness of it, a special service garbage district for the county of Grand.
So once again, city and county officials seem to be at an impasse, and the dump now has enough money to operate it for 4 more months. Grand County Red Devil basketball team will hold its last home game of the season this Thursday evening as they host Rifle, Colorado. If the Red Devils win, they can get into the regional tournament, so they are hoping for a big crowd to cheer them on. And the game gets underway at 7:30. The Moab chapter of the American Association of Retired Persons will hold its regular monthly meeting Thursday. The featured speaker will be Don Falk. The lunch begins at 12:30 p.m. at the Cattleman's Restaurant on South Highway 191. And for further information, you can call 259-5394 or 259-6241. The Women's Literary Club is holding its drive to collect donations for the Salt Lake Veterans Hospital. The club is looking for personal hygiene items, books, and greeting cards, playing cards, and all kinds of men's clothing. If you'd like to make a donation or want further information, you can call 259-7738 or 259-5604. Well, up next is the Canyon Country weather forecast when Channel 6 News continues.
Electricity is like your teacher at school. Everything that it does is to help you, but don't try and push your luck. A good thing to know is to stay at least 10 feet away from power lines. Electricity can be either over your head or down underneath the ground. But the good stuff it does is in between with you and me. How do you think they watch TV before they have power? It's not hard. You just have to be careful.
Through the seasons, through the miles, through the rough country of southeastern Utah, we get you through. We're GTE. We're your telephone company.
The valley stayed cloudy Wednesday with just brief appearances by the sun, and we can look for that weather to continue. The official National Weather Service forecast for Moab and Canyon Country calls for partly to mostly cloudy skies through the rest of the week. But it is getting warmer. We can expect high temperatures in the mid-50s, and if the sun breaks through, it could go up to the 60-degree mark. Overnight lows will stay in the mid-30s. Long-range forecast calls for some colder weather to come into southeast Utah by the weekend, with a chance of some rain showers and snow at higher elevations. And highs should be in the 40s. That's news of Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Dee Tranter reporting. Have a good day.
Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Tricia Maroney reporting. An avalanche in the LaSalle Mountains takes the lives of 4 Moab residents. We'll have that story when Channel 6 News continues.
For all your insurance needs in Moab, it's Central Utah Insurance. Home, auto, business, and life. You can depend on the fast, friendly service at Central Utah Insurance, 471 South Main.
First Western National Bank is bringing affordable home lending back to Moab with 15 and 30-year fixed mortgages at very attractive rates. If you're thinking about buying a new home or refinancing your current loan, stop by and talk to our loan counselors. Home ownership and refinancing for very little down. Just another good reason that First Western National Bank is your hometown bank in Moab. A major avalanche in the LaSalle Mountains killed 4 Moab residents Wednesday afternoon as they were collecting information on avalanche danger for the National Forest Service. 2 others with them were able to dig their way out of the snow. According to Grand County Sheriff Jim Nyland, the accident occurred Wednesday around 3:30 in the afternoon, about 3/4 of a mile past the end of Gold Basin Road in San Juan County.
Yesterday afternoon, which had been on February 12th, 1992, at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we had some people that were up on the LaSalle Mountains in the Gold Basin area doing some snow inspection of the new snow that's fallen, and an avalanche was triggered and covered all 6 of the victims up. 2 of the victims were able to remove themselves from the avalanche slide, but the other 4 weren't able to do that, and as a result we had 4 people die in the avalanche yesterday afternoon.
The 4 victims included Mark Yates, who ran the Avalanche Awareness Center here in town. His job was to check the conditions through the forest for snow danger and to report on ski conditions. Also dying in the accident was Maribel Loveridge, a longtime Moab resident who worked on the river for tag-along tours. The 3rd victim was Bill Turk, also a longtime Moab resident and experienced skier. And the 4th victim was Jeremy Hopkins, who recently moved to town to help with the Avalanche Center. 2 other skiers were with the victims at the time of the accident. They too were buried in the snow. According to the Sheriff's Department, Steve Molesky was able to dig himself out of the snow and was able to help Craig Bigler out as well. They dug out the others and tried to revive them, but it was too late. The 6 were members of a recently organized hasty response team set up through the Sheriff's Office to respond quickly to avalanche conditions. Avalanche danger is at its worst when new snow falls on top of packed snow. Through most of last month, there has been little precipitation in the mountains, but about 8 inches fell Tuesday and Wednesday morning. In addition, many of the grades in the mountains are extremely steep, increasing the danger. According to the Forest Service, Mark Yates was concerned that danger would be high, and with the 3-day weekend coming up, he wanted to be able to point out to skiers areas to avoid, so he took the team up.
The slope that they were on was very steep, and we had about 8 inches of new snow that fell on, kind of a hard-packed snow, and the people that were able to survive the incident don't have any idea why the snow was triggered, but it was a slab of snow about 8 inches thick, 50 feet or 50 yards wide by about 150 yards in length.
On Thursday morning, Grand and San Juan Sheriff's Departments, along with the Forest Service, put together an effort to reach the victims.
We have a helicopter that's on its way down from Salt Lake. Depending on the weather, it means a lot whether we'll be able to use a helicopter or not. But we do have people that's available, and it's going to be on their way in.
How many people you have involved?
Well, at the present time, we probably got 15. Probably got 6 people on the special team that'll be skiing into the area, and then we have the others that'll be support.
The plan was to have another hasty response team ski into the site and to have the helicopter lift out the victims. But continuing avalanche danger and storm conditions forced the cancellation of the attempt. As of now, the Forest Service says there is an avalanche warning out for the entire mountains, and they describe the danger as extreme. We'll be back with more news of Moab and Canyon Country when Channel 6 News continues. It's Valentine season at On the Edge. Surprise her with a top with a southwestern flair. And to warm his heart, the 92 Glacier Fire Wranglers. Make this year red hot at On the Edge. Through the seasons, through the miles, through the rough country of southeastern Utah, we get you through. We're GTE. We're your telephone company. Residents of Utah's 3rd Congressional District are very concerned about the rising cost of health care, but they want to preserve the private sector approach to the problem rather than government programs. That was the conclusion of Congressman Bill Orton, who recently completed a series of town meetings across the district, including one in Moab last month. Orton met here with about 30 residents to hear of government plans to deal with the crisis, which has become a major political issue during this election year. According to Orton, the people attending the meetings were generally opposed to hikes in income tax to pay for a government-run program. But they also felt the government could do things to regulate health insurance premiums and medical fees. And Orton added that many favored increasing alcohol and tobacco taxes to pay for health care. In his State of the Union address, President Bush centered many of his remarks on health care. The congressman told Channel 6 that while he applauds the president's efforts to keep health care privatized, he thought the administration plans were not specific enough. The Moab Planning Commission will meet Thursday evening to discuss a number of items. The Moab Valley Inn on South Main Street is requesting a zone change from residential to commercial and a change in the flood zoning. New aerial mapping showed a difference between the flood channel, determined decades ago, and the federal floodway zone, and Moab Valley Inn would like the situation standardized. Because of new federal rules requiring handicapped access to all public meetings, the Planning Commission will, at least for now, meet at the conference room at the BLM District Office on Dogwood Avenue, and this meeting will begin at 7 p.m. Moab Community Theater opens its 3-day run of one-act plays Thursday evening. The show, running through Saturday, begins at 8 p.m. at Star Hall. The Canyonlands Arts Council has announced that the Lauren Kahn Puppet Theater scheduled for Monday evening has been canceled until further notice. Up next is the Canyon Country weather forecast when Channel 6 News continues.
Gentlemen, we need to talk about Valentine's Day. This time you'll get the perfect Valentine at the perfect price right here at City Market Floral Shop with beautiful long-stem roses and candy. Cut flower bouquets and Valentine cards. And exclusively at City Market, a sweetheart checkout line to make it even easier. The perfect gift for Valentine's at City Market, the best floral shop in town.
Prices are low at Subway, but I'd rather focus on sandwiches. People call them hoagies or heroes or submarines because they're shaped like submarines, but we call them Subway sandwiches. Our 6-inch meatball sub features meatballs and sauce on bread I just baked, all for a low economical price. I won't say how low, but you'll probably find enough in the cushions of your couch.
For 25 years, Subway has quietly made some of the best sandwiches anywhere, like the 6-inch meatball sub, only $1.69, only at Subway.
Cloudy skies and rain stayed in the valley on Thursday, with temperatures staying in the mid-40s. And rain could continue through the weekend. The official National Weather Service forecast for Moab and Canyon Country calls for partly to mostly cloudy skies through Friday, highs staying around the 50-degree mark, and lows near 30 degrees. By Saturday and Sunday, there should be some scattered showers and temperatures dropping down to near 40 degrees, evenings down to about the 20s. And travelers should watch out for patches of early morning and late evening fog throughout the region. And that's the news of Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Tricia Maroney reporting. Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Tricia Maroney reporting. Searchers continued efforts to reach the bodies of the 4 Moab residents who died Wednesday during an avalanche in the La Salle Mountains. We'll have that story when Channel 6 News continues. First Western National Bank is bringing affordable home lending back to Moab with 15 and 30-year fixed mortgages at very attractive rates. If you're thinking about buying a new home or refinancing your current loan, stop by and talk to our loan counselors. Home ownership and refinancing for very little down. Just another good reason that First Western National Bank is your hometown bank in Moab.
If you're looking for a good gas furnace, then look to Nelson's Heating and Refrigeration for the answer. Quality trained furnaces will give you years of dependable service at an affordable price. A trained furnace will pay for itself with better heating efficiency. Nelson's also the place for Maytag and Whirlpool appliances. Come in today and talk to the experts at Nelson's Heating and Refrigeration, 1070 Bowling Alley Lane.
The search for the bodies of the 4 skiers who died in Wednesday's avalanche in the La Salle Mountains continued Friday. Mark Yates, Maribel Leverage, Bill Turk, and Jeremy Hopkins all died Wednesday when a slab of snow crashed down on them in the Upper Gold Basin area of the National Forest. Yates had been leading the team looking for avalanche conditions, so skiers coming to the mountains would be warned of the dangers. According to the Forest Service District Ranger Jerry Shaw, that was part of his job.
Mark is very conscious. As you know, we've been a long spell without some new snow, and we've got the new snow in. We've had some wind loading. Mark was very concerned. Also, we have a three-day weekend coming up, and he wanted to make sure and put out some accurate forecasts. And so, yeah, he was up there taking a look at wanted to see as much of the mountain as he could that day to be able to make the forecast the best he could.
There were 2 other skiers with the victims at the time of the avalanche and were covered as well. Steve Molesky was able to dig himself out. He found Craig Bigler, helped him climb out, and they searched for the others. They found them, but efforts to revive them were not successful. On Thursday, teams from the Grand and San Juan County Sheriff's Departments, along with the Forest Service, made an effort to go back in and retrieve the victims, but heavy snow and dangerous conditions made them turn back.
Well, basically, it was because of the weather. We had a helicopter on standby that could not get out of Moab, basically, because we had rain here in town all day, and heavy snows, real strong winds up at the site. Since the incident occurred, we picked up probably 18 inches of new snow up there. And with the snowpack that we've had underneath the current conditions, it was just felt it was too dangerous to go in and try and make the attempt yesterday.
Friday, the sun was out in the valley, but in the mountains it was still cloudy, and avalanches have continued for the last few days, making the retrieval more and more difficult.
Everything has come out all around that and just taken that whole place all the way to the bottom of the path. And he said the slide was about 150 yards long. And see, now it runs right from the top all the way into the bottom of the run. It ran almost full track. It didn't run into the trees like it does sometimes, but almost full track.
The teams attempted to use explosives to blow away some of the most dangerous avalanche areas, but it hasn't been enough.
Got a couple, fairly good-sized slides, and one really big one out of the, they call the funnel. But there's still all kinds of snow hanging up there. And so what we decided was, rather than to, get any people in there, just go ahead and call for the dogs and go up again if we can get in, which we don't know weather-wise, and just keep hammering it.
Searchers brought in the Rocky Mountain Dog Team to help in the effort and continued to work feverishly through the day. By late afternoon, 2 of the victims had reportedly been found, but authorities could not make an identification. The most dangerous time for avalanches are when new snow falls on top of packed down snow, just the conditions that occurred this week in the La Salles. The victims of this tragedy were among the most experienced skiers in the region, but all those skills are powerless against the force of nature. And now, here's an update on the search from Ken Davey.
Searchers finished their grim work Saturday afternoon, finding the last 2 bodies, ending what was the worst avalanche disaster in Utah in over 40 years. The 16-member search party, led by Steve Molesky and Craig Bigler, the two survivors, used dogs and long probes to locate the victims. Late Friday afternoon, the bodies of Maribel Loveridge and Jeremy Hopkins were found under 8 feet of snow from new avalanches. By Saturday, the crews were back, and they succeeded in finding and removing the final 2 victims, Bill Turk and Mark Yates. In the face of the tragedy and a feeling of helplessness, Moab residents are doing what they can. A memorial fund has been established for the family of Mark Yates, and donations are being accepted at First Security Bank. And memorial meetings for the victims are planned for this week, though details as of Sunday are not yet set. On our 6:30 p.m. broadcast Monday evening, we'll give as many of those details as are available. This is Ken Davey for Channel 6.
We'll be back with more news when Channel 6 News continues. It's Valentine's season at On the Edge. Surprise her with a top with a southwestern flair. And to warm his heart, the 92 Glacier Fire Wranglers. Make this year red hot at On the Edge.
Remember, Valentine's Day is this Friday. This time you'll get the perfect Valentine at the perfect price, right here at City Market. Beautifully decorated sweetheart cakes, plus Valentine cupcakes and cookies for school parties and office treats. It's just one stop for Valentine's Day. The best bakery in town at your nearby City Market.
Through the seasons, through the miles, through the rough country of southeastern Utah, we get you through. We're GTE. We're your telephone company. The Utah House of Representatives took a step Wednesday to save the Arches Winery over the objections of the LDS Church. The lawmakers passed a bill that would cut state taxes on wine sold on-site by the winery located here in Spanish Valley. Arches is the only legal winery in the state and has both a tasting room and sales outlet here. But state taxes of 61% have cut sharply into their profits, to the point that owner Anita Bradford said she would have to close down. A bill was sponsored by Representative David Adams, who represents Moab and San Juan County. But last week, LDS church leaders spoke out against passing it, saying the question needed more study. That was seen by many political observers as the end of the bill. But last Friday, Governor Norman Bangerter, a member of the church, spoke out forcefully in favor of the measure, saying it was necessary for rural Utah economic development. The winery produces about 7,000 gallons of wine per year from grapes grown at 15 Utah vineyards. Although that makes Arches a very small winery compared to the rest of the industry, it is seen as the beginning of an effort to make winemaking an important economic part of this region. Some experts have tested the soil in the area and concluded it is excellent for wine grapes, and a number of vineyards have been operating for years. Star Hall is the place for the theater this weekend. Here's Ken Davey with a report.
We're here at Star Hall as Moab Community Theater players get ready for their 1992 production of 3 separate one-act comedies. The opening play is Suppressed Desires, directed by Joe Kiffmeyer, co-directed by Becky Thomas. It stars Debbie Belknap, Brent Bentley, and newcomer Rhonda Scott.
It's about a wife who is really caught up in psychoanalysis. She went to this doctor and got caught up, and now she's kind of driving the rest of her family crazy with it. But at the end, it kind of turns around and backfires on it. So, and it does have a happy ending.
Mabel, are you perfectly happy with your husband?
Oh, come now, Henrietta. That's going a little strong.
Mabel, are you perfectly happy with him?
Well, yes, of course I'm happy with him.
Are you happy, or do you only think you're happy? Or do you think you ought to be happy?
Well, I'm Mabel. I'm visiting my sister in New York. I'm from Chicago. And basically, I'm just there on vacation, and then I get psychoanalyzed.
Mabel, do you know anything about psychoanalysis?
Oh, well, I think it has something to do with the war, doesn't it?
Not that kind of war.
Play number 2 is The Origin of Escargot, written and directed by Rick Fulham, and this is the world premiere.
The play, The Origin of Escargot, it's about the origin of escargot, but I
I guess you would say the through line of the whole thing is dealing with the subject of the power of pretense.
It is about the origin of escargot, which was prepared in a very well-known restaurant called La Eatery. And we welcome everybody to come and see us this weekend at Star Hall. Thank you very much.
Why don't you two tell me what you think is the most disgusting, repulsive, nauseating thing you can think of? Well, that nobody in the entire world in their right mind would ever think of eating.
What part do you play?
It's a real small part, but it's important. I'm a duke or a potentate or something, but definitely one of the cloths in the most prestigious restaurant in France.
Marvelous, marvelous, simply marvelous.
And the third play is called Next, starring Jim Kelly and Amber Nodine, and it's directed by Michaeline Pendleton.
Well, Next is a comedy about a gentleman of somewhat over middle age who is ordered to report to his draft board for an induction physical. He's not pleased.
Do you drink?
Oh, that too, oh yes.
How much?
Whenever I smoke. See, smoking makes me want to drink, and drinking makes me want to smoke. It's a vicious circle.
And it's basically about all the indignities that he goes through, going through a draft physical. He has a lady examining officer, and it has its humor, its points, and it has its little more serious notes to it.
Turn your head and cough.
Oh, really?
Again.
Just how many hernias are you looking for? Two's about average, you know.
A theater production is a lot more than the people seen on stage. There's the lighting and sound crews, the stagehands who make up the sets, and the people who work on costumes and makeup. And Moab Community Theater is a truly community event with all sorts of people pitching in.
It's been a lot of fun. I have everybody who's involved in this play is very, very committed to making it, doing the best possible.
The play continues through Saturday night at Star Hall with performances at 8 p.m. Tickets are $4 and are available at the door. This is Ken Davey for Channel 6.
Up next is the Canyon Country weather forecast when Channel 6 News continues.
If your sporty car doesn't feel so sporty anymore, you need a change. By the team, the B.F. Goodrich Tire Team. They'll put on B.F. Goodrich T8 Performance tires. Tires designed just for your sporty car. You'll feel a whole new level of performance. See your B.F. Goodrich Tire Team if they don't see you first.
Your B.F. Goodrich Tire Team in Moab is Grand Tire, 312 North Main.
For a high-quality, full-service repair shop, it's Certified Ford, 500 South Main. A computerized digital engine analyzer for today's advanced design automobiles enables the mechanics at Certified to return your car to factory specs. No matter what kind of car you drive, when it's time for service, see the experts at Certified Ford, 500 South Main, your hometown dealer.
Clouds moved into the valley Friday afternoon, blocking some of the morning sunshine that led to high temperatures in the mid-50s. And the forecast calls for more of the clouds over the weekend and into the early part of the week. The forecast for Moab and Canyon Country calls for partly to mostly cloudy skies with a chance of rain and snow at higher elevations. Look for temperatures in town to reach the mid to low 50s, with overnight lows near 30 degrees. Channel 6 will update the search in the LaSalle Mountains for the Moab skiers Monday morning at 7:30 a.m. and at 12:30 in the afternoon. In addition, we'll have a special update Monday evening at 6:30 p.m. And that's the news of Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Tricia Maroney reporting.